Shalom, giving to you. Title this video. This one major prophecy is here. I should say almost here, because it's in the process of being fully set up. We're seeing the steps of this major prophecy. This prophecy has to take place before we're delivered out of here, the elect are delivered out of here. We're giving all praises to Yahweh, Shalom to the hopefully elect. If I didn't say that, that always praise Yahweh, but anyway, this video right here, I'll leave the link in the description box. This is put at my Friends of the Prophets. Access denied, over 2,000 stores, MOTB. Prelude, see, he put in prelude. When you look up the word prelude, a prelude is like an intro. It's something before the thing. Like if you go to a concert, you get like an introduction of, you might get a band or a singer that's not that well known, open up for the main group. But then maybe a couple of years, that little headliner, that person that opens up for the main group becomes a major singer, a major group, and that's just a prelude. That's all it means. Prelude just means you're gonna get something before you get the big thing. You can look it up. I'm just saying it in my words, my choice of words. Anyway, I didn't even get a chance to watch a minute and 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more, because I think I pulled it back a little bit. So I'm not even 2 minutes into this video, and I already know what's going to happen next. The MOTB, the CBDC, which I remember we couldn't even say. We had to think about the CB, the BDCD, what? But now we just say it, rolls off the tongue, like the MOTB. The CBDC, the central bank digital currency. But this is what I'm going to do. And other topics. See, we teach that the MOTB, is the charagma. Oh, you know what? I was looking this up, right? I put in, what did I do? I put in Russia square mile, right? It said the largest country in the world, on the planet, is Russia, with a total area of 17 million kilometers, which and miles would be you see that, right? Hundreds, thousands, millions. 6 million miles, or square miles. The two make it square miles. And a land area of 6,323,142 miles, square miles, equivalent to 11% of the total world's land mass. This is way bigger than the United States. Right, is Russia bigger than the United States? The US is approximately half the size of Russia when compared by their land masses, according to the nation massa.com. Russia is 1.8 times larger than America. Despite the expansive land area, Russia hosts only 2% of the world's population. Um, so you have a lot of land out there, while the U.S. ranks third in world population, according to U.S. Census Bureau. Okay, population ranked third. Um, India is number one. It just surpassed uh, China. China is number two. So I guess, yeah, well, so America be a far third from India and China. India has over a billion people. China has over a billion people. The U.S. has almost 350 million people, which is like a third of the population of China. So if there's a land war and they send in troops, they don't use missiles or anything like that. And nobody wants missiles because missiles is the end of the system as they know it. But the Most High is going to deliver us, and He's going to focus those missiles on America. All those missiles are going to be focused on America. But let's say the U.S. shoots off missiles on Russia, not China, but Russia. It's only going to destroy a certain segment of Russia. And most of Russia is like no man's land, almost. So it's a vast land out there. So they'll win. Chinese will win. It was a land war, man to man. What are the biggest countries by land? I'm gonna come back to my main subject. Okay, the three largest sovereign countries by surface area are Russia, Canada, and the United States. Together, they occupy roughly a quarter of Earth's land mass. Other heavyweights in size are China, Brazil, Australia, India, Argentina, and Kazakhstan, which is kind of sort of part of Russia. So they say that America is a large span of land. That's 5,000 square miles, 3,000 from east to west, 2,000 from approximately 2,000 from north to south. Now the scriptures say we'll be taken. Let me go to it real quick. Then I'm gonna get back into the last major prophecy before the destruction and deliverance. Bear with me for a minute. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you three scriptures back to back. Bear with me for a minute. All right, ball. Ball is only written one time in the scriptures. Isaiah 22, verse 18, and he will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball into a large country. That's Babylon, the great. That's America. It didn't say the largest country. You got Russia, you got Canada, then you got America. America's one of third largest, according to what I just read, third largest uh, country on the planet. So that's what it means by being violently turned and tossed like a ball. It's talking about the slave ships, because a ball has buoyancy. The boat has buoyancy. So during the time of the Middle Passage, the transatlantic uh, trade route, because they didn't just trade uh, us, they did cargo. They went from there you go. They went from Europe, parts of Europe, down into Africa, West Africa. They picked up slaves, and they dropped off some cargo because they had to buy the purchase of slaves when they went to the Americas and dropped the slaves off. There was a point where the transatlantic slave trade through the ships stopped because there was enough slaves to breed. They had breeding farms, breeding houses, whatever you want to call it, where they bred slaves. They had a strong uh, Jake man with a strong woman to produce strong children to be better, harder working slaves. It said he will surely violently turn and toss thee. And then in slavery, the majority, well, all of them are Christians, white European Christians, and they did all kind of wickedness, man. They were committing adultery. They were forcing uh, slave men to slave with slave women that were dealing with another. They were breaking all. Oh, another thing, they were committing the act of cannibalism. There's a book called "The Delectable Negro," and I got to look this up, but I know from word of mouth, I heard this through the years that the word "pick a nigga" means picnic means to pick a nigga. It's short for pick a nigga. They would go out, have a cookout, and they would pick a nigga slave, and they would hang them, but then they would cook them, and then they would eat them. They would actually eat them. So when they get mad when we call them devils, I said only a devil will do that. They got all the different meat, cattle, chickens that they can eat, but they're gonna pick a nigga and they're gonna hang them, and then they're gonna cook them, and then they're gonna fucking eat them. But these are not I like cannibalism among the Israelites because they had nothing to eat. Esau did it openly. Oh, we want to eat. What we want to have? The main course is going to be a nigga. Look it up. The delectable Negro. So the truth is coming out on these devils. It said he will surely violently turn and toss thee like a ball. That's the ship on the rough seas into a large country. That large country is talking about America. This goes hand in hand with Deuteronomy 28 and 68. There shalt thou die, because you're going to work and work and work until you drop dead. And a lot of times they will drop dead while they're working. They had a scene in the movie 12 years of slave, 12 years a slave. And there was a scene where a guy was working in the field and he just dropped. And the next scene, they had a funeral and they had the woman singing the song. What was the name of the song? I forget the name of the song. But it started off with "Went down to the river Jordan." I forget the name of the song, but I did a video on it, so I should know the name of the song. Somebody help me out. And there, the chariots of thy glory, ultimately our glory, we're going to glorify in a glorified manner. We're going to be delivered. Shall be the shame of thy Lord's house, because this is a shameful act that happened to us. But we're going to be glorified. We were brought over here we were brought over here shackled up in ships, in the halls of ships. We didn't know the language that's pursuant to Deuteronomy 28th chapter. We didn't know a language that we should not understand. But But that's a shame because these are the royal people of the Heavenly Father. We're the princes and we're the princes of the Heavenly Father. That's what Yasha Allah means. But we're going to be delivered in a beautiful way. We're coming up. We're coming up, and Esau knows that. So let me give you a couple more precepts. Okay, this is Revelation 12. I can read the whole thing, but I'm just going to go to the 6th verse. And the woman fled into the wilderness. That's Africa, where she had a place prepared of the Most High. That's America, the large, be tossed and turned like a ball into a large country, that they should feed her there 1,203 scores days. I'm not going to get into the whole number thing. That's for another video. This right here is talking about us. This covers a lot of history right here. 70 AD, fleeing in Africa and other parts of the world. And then, and the place that's prepared for us is America. So the Most High put the spirit on Esau to grab us up, put us in slave ships. Ninth verse, and the great dragon, which is the Edomite power structure, was cast out. That old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth, and that deception is going to be the charagma. We keep teaching you that, and the ones of you that take heed to these other camps that teach you otherwise, you may get caught up in that and might take it because they'll teach you that's not the MOTB. So they said, well, I can take it. I got to feed. I got to eat. My kids got to eat. The whole world, like the whole world, which deceiveth the whole world. The ultimate deception is what? Is a charagma, not a picture of Caesar Borgia. The whole world doesn't. You got Buddhists out there. They're not going to accept the picture of Caesar Borgia. You got people in the religion of Islam. They're not going to accept the picture of Caesar Borgia. You got atheists. They're not going to accept the picture of Caesar Borgia. So that's not the image. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels cast out with him. And I heard, now comes salvation. That's for us. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. What Hawashai did 2,000 years ago, and the word of his testimony, and they loved their lives. That's talking about the people, the elect, the elect. Talking about the Romans, then it's talking about this current Edomite system. And the woman, here it goes again, 14 verse, and the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle that she might fly into the wilderness. That's ultimately Western Africa, into her place, which is America, where she is nourished for a time, times, and times and a half a time from the face of the serpent. The serpent are the Edomites. I'm going to show you another precept. Micah 4 and 10. It says peaceful latter days. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's in the 10th verse. I'm just kind of looking at this. Let me start from the 8th verse. And thou, O tower of the flock, stronghold of the daughter of Zion, which are Israelites unto thee, shall it come, even the first dominion, the kingdom shall come to the daughter of Jerusalem, which represents us. So we're waiting for the kingdom to come. Now, you really got to read this whole chapter because it starts off from the first verse. Now, why doeth thou cry out aloud? Is there no king in thee? Not now. What is that? Hosea 3 and 5. Is thy counsel perish? For pains have taken thee as a woman in travail. We're going through hell. We're suffering the curses. It says, be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, which represents the Israelites starting from the elect, like a woman in travail. Them Latin tribes, they going through hell, man. And this guy, Adam, whatever his name is, Eric Adams, the mayor, he's looking real bad. He's looking real bad. You couldn't pay me enough to be mayor of New York City, man. You know what happened? What's the governor's name of Texas? You had a bunch of see. There's a battle between if a kingdom is divided against itself, it cannot stand. This kingdom is divided. You have pretty much 50% Republican, 50% Democrats. Texas is pretty much a Republican country. So they wanted the wall up. So these immigrants, not just Issachar, but the other Venezuelans and so forth, they're coming up through Mexico to come to the Americas. So they wanted the wall up. The Democrats don't want the wall up, so there's no wall, or there's certain areas where the wall is up. So they're coming through. So you know what this Texas governor is doing? The guy in the wheelchair. He's saying, okay, since we ain't got a wall up, and the Democrats, you know, they don't want a wall up. Let's send them to a Democratic state, actually a city, which is New York City. Let's just put them on buses and send them over there. And this Democratic city is known for being compassionate, so they can't turn them away. So here they being overflown, they're being overthrown by these tribes here. So they got them in hotels. The city got to dish out $450 a night for a hotel, and you're talking about thousands of them. So they're putting them in some Navy Yard in Brooklyn and Red Hook. I know that whole area. You don't want to be out there where it's like open. You got those beds, those folding beds, and there's no rooms. There's no privacy. So they wanted to stay in a hotel, but they got more of them coming in with children. Then they're feeding them rotten food. So it's making the mayor of New York City look really bad. They just had something on the news yesterday. They said his approval rating has dropped. They always go by the approval rating of a mayor or governor of a president the first year. So they said the first year of Eric Adams, he has a worse approval rating since Giuliani. Go back to Giuliani, go back to Bloomberg, and what's the other one? The guy that was just mayor. He was telling you if you get this shot, you get a free burger from Wendy's or something like that. Then he said, "Oh, this is a good burger, but you can get it if you get that shot." I forget his name. He was so insignificant, but the news said that he surpassed all of them as far as a low rating for the first year, and that's one of the reasons he's looking really bad. He's looking really bad, man. Because see, And that's part of worshiping the beast too, being a part of his system, being a police officer, being a EMS, being a fireman, joining the military, working in state government. Because when you're in these different governmental jobs, you got to take an oath. You got to actually take you become a correctional officer. You got to actually take an oath. So that's the worship part. You got to actually take an oath. To become a police officer, you got to actually take an oath. To join the military, any branch of the military, you got to take an oath. They'll tell you to step forward. They showed you that, or Muhammad Ali. They showed you the Muhammad Ali, the original Muhammad Ali movie, that Muhammad Ali, the greatest, that he actually played in it. They show you the scene where they had all these guys in the army, and he was there because it was a draft. And they said, but despite all the papers that he signed, they said you got to take one step forward. Everybody took the one step forward. Ali stayed there, so they made a big deal about it because they had to show with their actions. So that's a form of worship. Whether in your mind you don't worship them, but your actions show that you worship them. All right. Then ultimately they have the technology now. Ultimately, the next step is you're gonna have to actually put a charagma in your right hand on your forehead, or both. That's why we always speak about it. I wasn't planning on really going deep into it, but it keeps coming up. And there's a reason why it keeps coming up, because when it happens, there's going to be a big shakeup among these camps. They're going to question whether they're following the right guy. Now, you can question us all you want. You question us all you want. And you say, well, Todd, this is really talking about that. I know you said that, but and I'm going to say yes. Yes. For the millionth and one time, yes. So these guys are going to have a lot of explaining to do. Hey, General Yohani, he got a lot of explaining to do with him telling people to take it. Go ahead and take it. Take the jump shot. He said, I'll take 3 or 4 of them bad boys. So what's happening now with people that took it? They're dropping dead. I have personal friends that I grew up with as kids that took it. That took all the jump shots, and they died. And the one guy that looks like King Tacky in Africa, brother that I grew up with since we were like 10, 11 years old, up into manhood, I saw him about a week before he died, and he said, I should have never took those jump shots. I should have never took them jump shots. I feel like I'm going to die. And sure enough, his mother told me a week and a half later that he had died. He wasn't feeling right. He went in the hospital. You know how you go to the hospital, they hook your shit up, put the shit all up in your arm, and he never woke back up. But he said the reason why he knew he was going to die. He felt death, grab his heart, grab his soul. He felt like he was going to die. A week later, he died. And there were other people that died that I know. It says, now why doest thou cry aloud? I read this part. So this 10th verse goes hand in hand with Revelation 12:6, then around about the 14, so some odd verse, 16 verse, but mainly 6. Now, the first time I heard this I read it, but never put it all together. But the first time I heard this was with Al-Azhar had mentioned it, and I just heard it and said, sounds good. But then I did this breakdown before Revelation 12, and then I went to the commentary, but then the commentary actually put this scripture up. So it says, be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, which represents Jerusalem. That's why people say, the city is Babylon. The city is not Babylon. And thou shalt dwell in the field. That represents the interiors of Africa. and thou shalt go even to Babylon. Babylon is what? The daughter of Babylon, America. It said, there shalt thou be delivered. There Yahweh shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies. So now when you go to look this up with these scholars, they don't know how to break it down. This is how you know that Babylon is America, the US. Because it says when you go from the field to Babylon, it says you're going to be delivered from the Most High and from thine enemies. So now if this is talking about, if they say this is talking about ancient Babylon, how is we delivered from our enemies? Because we were under the subjection under the Babylonians, then we became a subject unto the Medo-Persian Empire. So how in the hell did we get free from our enemies? The Persians and the Medes, weren't they our enemies? If one kingdom takes over another kingdom, they take the slaves of that former kingdom. So the Most High didn't deliver us from Babylon, ancient Babylon. The Most High is going to deliver us from the daughter of Babylon. It says, there shalt thou be delivered. So we're in this part, right? We're in this right here. We're in this scene of the movie. There Yahweh shall redeem thee, deliver thee from the hand of thine what? Thine enemies. Who are our enemies? Any nation outside of us. Let me finish reading. Let me read to the last verse. And really, you got to read this whole chapter. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful chapter. It says, 11th verse. Now also, many nations are gathered against thee. Psalms 83 and 1 on down. That say, let her be defiled. Give her pork, give her this, take away her. See, when they take away your law, statutes, and commandments, you defile yourself. You don't keep the Sabbath. You commit adultery. You eat unlawful foods. Just to name a few examples. They trained us not to be Israelites. So when we don't know that we're the Israelites, when we don't connect ourselves to the Israelites, we're not going to keep the laws. And let our eye look upon Zion. That's what we're doing now. We're looking upon Zion. We woke up. There was a great cry made. 12th verse. But they know not the thoughts of Yahweh. What does that mean? But they know not the thoughts of Yahweh. Neither understand they his counsel. For he shall gather them as the sheaves into the floor. And the Most High is waking us up. That's why some of us are woken up. The majority of us are still asleep. You got the Kemetic community, you got Baptists, you got all these. The Most High chose to tap certain of us on our heads, to mainly the teachers. 13, arise and thrash, O daughters of Zion. So this is what we ultimately going to do. We're going to fuck these other nations up. Numbers 24, O daughter of Zion, which are the Israelites, for I will make thine horn iron, and horn represents power. And I will make, an iron cannot be broken. Iron is an inferior metal, but it's the strongest metal. If you had a sword made out of gold versus a sword made out of iron, who's going to win that fight? The man that has a sword made out of iron. And that was it tells you in, was it Daniel 7, Daniel 2, it speaks about that beast diverse from the others having iron teeth. The iron teeth represents the swords that they use, the armor that they use, the shields that they use was made out of iron. All nations use iron, but if you do the research, there was no nation of the ancient world that used iron as much as the Roman Empire. And that's why they were able to take down the nations. And I will make thy hoofs brass, and thou, as long as the hoofing's real, inside joke, and thou shalt, if you know what I'm talking about, you're good. And thou shalt beat in pieces many people. What people? Other nations. And I will consecrate. Now, what does the word consecrate mean? It means to make holy. I'm going to look that up. Their gain unto the Lord and their substance unto Yahweh of the whole earth, because we're going to take control of the whole earth. And consecrate means to, he's going to change us. That's where that change is going to come. When we look up the word consecrate in the Hebrew, consecrate. I don't know why consecrate. Okay, so this got to be a consecrate. Let me look that word up in the common dictionary. Consecrate. Give me a second here. Consecrate. Let me look that word up. Let's see what they say. Yeah, like I said, it says having been made or declared sacred. Let's look up the word sacred. Sacred, connected with God, or the gods, or dedicated to a religious purpose, and so deserving veneration, to be reverenced, to be feared, right? Connected with God. So meaning with, and secrete meaning to be sacred or of God. And we are the people of God. We are with God. We are going to be again with God. But like I said, I'm not going to go into this whole chapter, but this is a very good chapter, which I never did a lesson on this whole chapter, but I went into some of the fine points. Okay, says peaceful latter days. So what does the latter days mean? And then the precept take you to Isaiah 2, verse 2. We already know what that says. It says, but in the last days, which we are in now, it shall come to pass that the mountain of Yahweh's, of the house of Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains. And he's starting with these different camps. This is Ezekiel 37. And it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. Now, who's flowing unto us now? The teachers. These other people that listen to us and watch us on YouTube or come out to the camps and so forth, right? But ultimately is when the kingdom comes and all the Israelites that remain, they're going to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. They're going to be especially the ones that are lifted up into the ships. Second verse, and many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord. And that's talking about Israelites coming in. That's Isaiah 14, 1 and 2. And the other nation, they're going to be forced into it. They're not going to, oh, let's start fighting. No, they're going to be forced into it because they're going to try to fight us. And they're going to realize they're going to encounter the X-Men. Now, the X-Men movie, these people have had different powers. We're going to have all the powers of all the X-Men and then some. We're going to be Superman and Superwoman. And kryptonite ain't going to work. All right? Okay, we're gonna be better than Doom. Doom killed Superman. We're gonna be Doom plus into the house of the Most High Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. Because ultimately, they're gonna be forced to keep the laws. For the Lord shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord Yahweh from Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem or Jerusalem in the land of Israel, those people ain't pushing out no laws. Ain't nobody keeping the laws because they in power. And they pushing that bullshit that they fulfilled prophecy 1948. That's bullshit. That's you got a city called Pink City, man. Tel Aviv. There's all kind of debauchery and wickedness and skullduggery. When I say skullduggery, it means adultery. Doesn't mean anything else. Skullduggery, look the word up. It means, it's a European word. I forget if it's Scottish or whatever. Skullduggery means adultery. You got Moism. You got all kind of isms going on over there. The people eat whatever the hell they want. You got certain parts of Israel that's closed down on so-called Saturdays, but then you got other parts that are open. Everything's supposed to be shut down on the Sabbath, and they even got the Sabbath the wrong way. Sabbath is based upon the new moon. So anyway, I didn't even want to go all into this like that. Let me see. Where the hell am I? Okay, so let me come back over here. I wanted to speak on some other things, but the Spirit led me into this. Anyway, watch this video. This is the next step. Oh, let me do this. This is the next step before they actually start, you know, chipping you, hipping you. Let me do this. Let me go. CBDC definition. A central bank digital currency is a digital currency issued by a central bank rather than a central bank is, a central bank is the Federal Reserve Bank. It's not your commercial banks like your Chase banks and your Wachovia. I'm sorry, Wachovia is now what's this damn bank? It used to be Wachovia, Wells Fargo's, and your various banks out there, People's Bank, whatever you want to call it, the various different banks. But it says a central bank digital currency is a digital currency issued by a central bank, and the central bank will be the Federal Reserve Bank, which you have Federal Reserve notes, and this is known as a bank of issue, meaning they issue to other banks. What do they issue to other banks? Federal Reserve notes, FRNs. So what they're going to do, they're going to phase that whole thing out. Most of the time, I go to BJ's, right, and I want to cash out without dealing with a cashier. I'll go to the self checkout, and some of them they'll say cash, and others when you hit cash, it won't come up. So there's sometimes you get the cash thing, and other times you won't. I went there yesterday. The normal one of the place. I go to a different, maybe three different BJ's depending on where I'm at, and sometimes mostly two, but sometimes three. It was a new one. I went to the new one just to see what if they got new stuff. But anyway, this newest one, when you go to the checkout, you can't pay with cash. Another one I've been going to for years that I always pay with cash. I was there, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, and I went to the same checkout, the same lane, and I hit cash like I normally do, and it didn't come up. So I had no choice but to put a credit card or a debit card up in there. So they're phasing that whole thing out. They're phasing money out, and everything gonna be digital, where the government be able to know exactly what you spend, how much you spent, where did you go? Did you go to a particular movie in Harlem or something like that? They know where you went. You went to a movie. You saw this particular movie. You went to a restaurant. You went to this particular restaurant down the street at 7:20 p.m. You go through different tolls. Tolls now. You have to have the Easy Pass. I got the Easy Pass. If you say, okay, you want to use cash, we'll mail you a thing. It's going to cost you $10. But if you get the Easy Pass, it only costs you $2. So what are you going to do? You have no choice but to the same thing with the electric cars, the EVs. They pushing that, man. They phasing out these other cars, and everything gonna be EVs. They force it on you, but they use a thing called gradualism. So it's the same thing with the MOTB. The MOT starts with the S CBDC, a central bank digital currency is a digital currency, which is going to lead to what? You getting a thing in your hand, your right hand, so you can make purchases because you lose your smartphones, right? So you can't lose your hand unless it's cut off. Then you got your forehead, issued by a central bank rather than by a commercial bank. But you may have commercial banks, but they're going to be using central bank digital currency. It is also liability of the central bank and denominated in the sovereign currency. So all your paper dollars are going to turn into digital dollars where they can track you, as is the case with physical banknotes and coins. Now, if you've been checking out the news, this started happening after the George Floyd situation. You had a bunch of people busting the different stores, just grabbing shit, right? And the cops can't even, you might catch one or two. And you got people that are blatantly going into different supermarkets and different stores, and they just grabbing shit up. They got a gang of people going up in there, and the security guard ain't gonna grab all of them. So they done stole a whole bunch of shit from the store. They're letting them do that. A lot of them are set up to do that, man. So ultimately, what they can do is lock everything down. They're gonna lock everything down. So the only way you can pick up some meat or pick up an item, you're gonna have to have a QR code. So anything that you grab from the store, you can just pick up, leave the store, not pay for it, but it's taken out of your account. What they're gonna do, everything's gonna be set up with cameras all over the place and sensors all over the place. So in order for you to gain access to a store, you're gonna have to have a QR code. Ultimately, the MOTB. So the door is gonna open. The turnstile is gonna open. You're gonna go in there. You're gonna grab a bunch of things, and you're gonna walk out. And then you're gonna get on your email. You're gonna get the bill, and then out of your account, your bank account, in the form of CBDCs, digital currencies. Um, if you purchase $200 worth of stuff, there's going to be $200 deducted from your personal account. Okay, so nobody can steal from you unless they chop your damn hand off. And it's going to look kind of funny with you walking around with a bloody hand swiping shit. All right. They showed you that in that movie with Minority Report. They showed you when this guy, Tom Cruise, took a Japanese man's eye and he went into the Gap store. And what did the lady say? They said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Uh, Nakamoto," whatever his name was, because they read this, they scanned his eye. All right. But it's not going to be based upon eye scans. It's going to be based upon what's in your hand. Ultimately, like I said, see, we see everything. Understanding prophecy is to see the steps before prophecy comes. That's why John the Baptist, he questioned whether the Lord was the Lord. He said, is this the one, or should we look for another? Because he said, this is the Messiah right here. But then when he was going to get his head chopped off, he said, is this the one, or should we look for another? And he spoke to his disciples, which became the disciples of Yahushua, which was John, James, and Andrew, the brother of Peter. Andrew came in before Peter, but Peter became the head disciple because the Lord didn't just run into a bunch of guys and say, "You want to become a part of my?" No, these guys are already there. Those guys were those 12 minus one. They were all prophets in the past coming back. So you don't got to go all over the world. Oh, I got to go to Africa, or I got to go to Alaska. I got to climb a mountain. You might have one of the elect on top of the Himalaya mountains. Nah, the Most High is going to guide them to the true teachers. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom. On to the next one. Shalom.